Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news tonight. Your one stop for the day's top stories. I'm Tracy Shilshi and here are the headlines. Goa is all set for the BRICS summit on Saturday. Terror most likely to be focus of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's bilateral meetings with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping ahead of the summit. Terror attack in Zakura on the outskirts of Srinagar. One Jawan of the Sashastra Seema Bal is killed, 7 injured in the hit-and-run attack. Army briefs Parliamentary Committee on the surgical strikes across the LOC. Panel Chief BC Khanduri says no questions were taken on the issue. Centre criticizes the All India Muslim Personal Law Board's stand on Uniform Civil Code, says the Civil Code and Triple Talaq cannot be treated as extensions of one another. And the US and Russia decide to give diplomacy another chance on Syria. Washington convenes international talks in Europe to secure a durable ceasefire. Top story this evening. India is expected to strongly raise the issue of cross-border terrorism against Pakistan at the BRICS summit. It will also try to further isolate Pakistan from the BRICS conglomeration by projecting the BIMSTEC grouping as a major element of cooperation for the BRICS nations. Let's take a look now at what else will come up at the summit that starts tomorrow.
The BRICS summit kicks off on Saturday with a dinner for all the assembled guests, including the heads of states. But ahead of this, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold bilateral meetings with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping. He is expected to brief them about India's assessment of the Pakistani position on terrorism. The issue has already figured at the BRICS NSA meeting.
There would be very strong paragraphs on terrorism, including how to deal with countries that provide sanctuaries and safe havens, how to cut down their financing. At the NSA's level, we also actually moved the goalpost a little further, that not only look at the sources of financing, but also look at the sources from where they are getting the arms and ammunition, because how have they been able to carry on this sort of a thing. So these would get reflected in the BRICS declaration.
On Sunday, the summit will hold formal talks on the modalities and hurdles in cooperation among the countries. Chairperson of the BRICS Bank, KV Kamath, is expected to present his report on its working. BRICS has also evolved a tradition to reach out to other nations in the regional grouping. The Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation is an effort in this direction. The grouping avoids Pakistan to include India, Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Thailand and Myanmar.
The interest that the other BIMSTEC countries have in it also shows their enthusiasm. It is a grouping which has absolutely no issues. It is an issues-free relationship. If anything, I think all member countries are deeply committed to moving it forward in promoting technical and economic cooperation, which will lead to poverty alleviation, which will result in sustainable development, which will lead to prosperity in the region, which is a very, very positive agenda. And so we like to stay focused on the positive aspects.
The 8th BRICS summit could well be the biggest launchpad for interaction among the member nations. It comes at a time when the Indian economy is growing at a faster pace than any of the other BRICS nations, including Russia and China. Significantly, India has notable differences with China on the issue of terrorism and the NSG. Russia has also deviated from its traditional partnership with India by holding military exercises with Pakistan.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi would have to utilize depth diplomacy and statesmanship so that irritants can be minimized and best potentials of the BRICS can be utilized. Akhilesh Soman for Rajya Sabha television with camera person Suri Sudarshan in Goa.
But here's what, of course, India is looking carefully at. Continuing its stance against India, China today said that it will keep blocking India's efforts to ban Pakistani militant Masood Azhar and also its bid to join the nuclear suppliers group until a consensus emerged on both issues. China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that there were differing views among members of the United Nations Security Council on listing Masood Azhar as a terrorist. China had vetoed the resolution on Azhar's banning at the UNSC for the second time earlier this month. China also reiterated that there was no change in its position on the issue of India's entry in the 48-member nuclear suppliers group. Meanwhile, Chinese President Xi Jinping reached Dhaka on Friday and called Bangladesh an important partner in South Asia and the Indian Ocean region. He also praised the 41-year-old diplomatic ties between the two nations, saying that the relationship has progressed by leaps and bounds. Beijing is expected to sign off $24 billion in loans for Dhaka's projects. Jinping will then leave for Goa for the BRICS summit on Saturday. And here's why terror, of course, is going to be a focus on during the BRICS summit. 1 dead and 8 Sashastra Seema Bal Jawans were injured in a terror attack in Zakura on the outskirts of Srinagar on Friday. According to reports, the terrorists fired at the vehicles that were ferrying the paramilitary force personnel to their camp. The injured were admitted to a hospital for treatment. The gunman escaped and the army has cordoned off the area. A search operation is on track now to track those terrorists down. The terror attack comes 2 days after the Pampore encounter.
2-3 लड़के करीब आए और उन्होंने ब्रस्ट फायर किया गाड़ी पे और उसके बाद वो लोग फिर वहां से पीछे उसी गली की तरफ भागे। हमारे लड़कों ने जवाबी फायरिंग की है। काफ़ी देर तक फायरिंग चलते रही, 15-20 मिनट तक, और बाद में हमने देखा कि हमारे 8 जवान घायल हैं और 1 हमारे शहीद हो चुके हैं।
But Pakistan's most favoured nation tag may stay for now, despite the rising tensions with Pakistan. The union government is not taking a call to withdraw the trade status for the country as of now. Commerce and Industry Minister Nirmala Sitharaman clarified on Friday that a proposal to scrap Pakistan's MFN status is not even under consideration. Though Pakistan had agreed to grant India the MFN status during a secretary-level agreement in 2012, it has failed to fulfill the promise even now, missing several deadlines. Most favoured nation is a status granted by a trading partner to another country under WTO guidelines, giving equal treatment in terms of trading prices, market access without discrimination in imports and exports.
गुडविल के नाते दिए। आज के माहौल में बहुत सारे लोग हमसे ये बात पूछ रहे हैं कि क्या विड्रॉ करेंगे, मगर अभी इसके ऊपर कुछ मशक्कत नहीं हुई।
We'll keep you updated on that front. Meanwhile, in other news, a day after the All India Muslim Personal Law Board accused the government of creating discord between communities, the centre today rebuked the board for trying to politicize the issue. However, while Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu called for a healthy debate on Uniform Civil Code, Samajwadi Party Chief Mulayam Singh Yadav has extended his support to the Muslim community. Meanwhile, in Lucknow, the AIM-PLB launched a signature campaign against the initiative.
In the wake of strong opposition to the Uniform Civil Code by some Muslim organizations, Samajwadi Party Chief Mulayam Singh Yadav on Friday extended his support to the community. He said decision on such a code should be left to religious leaders.
तो हम तो सबसे ज़्यादा उनको मानते हैं, सही है, तो इसलिए इसके लेकर के कोई विवाद नहीं है और न विवाद होना चाहिए। जो अपना जिसमें विश्वास है उसको मानते रहें, लेकिन एक सवाल देश का सब एक रहें और एक इंसानियत का सवाल उससे एक रहें।
The centre, on the other hand, hit out at the All India Muslim Personal Law Board for trying to politicize the law panel's move to seek feedback on Uniform Civil Code. It said the Civil Code and Triple Talaq were separate issues and cannot be treated as extensions of one another.
The uniform laws are best based on consensus and an agreement within the community that need to change with the change of times as far as basic human rights are concerned. What is the objection for anybody? I'm not able to understand. You join the debate, let there be enlightened debate.
Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad pointed out that several Islamic countries had already regulated their matrimonial laws and the practice of triple talaq.
आज 1 दर्जन से अधिक इस्लामिक देशों में ट्रिपल तलाक को रेगुलेट किया गया है। बांग्लादेश है, ट्यूनीशिया है, ईरान है, मोरक्को है, इजिप्ट है, इंडोनेशिया है, पाकिस्तान है। तो अगर इस्लामिक देशों में ट्रिपल तलाक को रेगुलेट करने का कानून बनाया गया और वो शरिया के खिलाफ नहीं पाया गया, तो हिंदुस्तान जो कि एक सेक्युलर देश है, पंथ निरपेक्ष देश है, वहां पर अगर संविधान की भावनाओं के अनुरूप इस तरह के बारे में सोचा जाता है तो इसे शरिया के खिलाफ कैसे माना जाए?
The sharp reaction from the government came a day after the All India Muslim Personal Law Board and other Muslim community members decided to boycott the Law Commission's questionnaire. The questionnaire was put up on the Law Panel's website on October 7th to seek public opinion on the issue. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
After initial reluctance, the Army today briefed a parliamentary panel on the recent surgical strikes carried out by its men across the LOC. Vice Chief of the Army Staff briefed members of the panel during a meeting inside Parliament. Our correspondents Vishal Daya and Panchanan Mishra get us this report.
Vice Chief of Army Staff Lieutenant General Bipin Rawat briefed members of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Defence about the Army's surgical strikes in Pak-occupied Kashmir on the 29th of September.
वाइस चीफ ऑफ द आर्मी स्टाफ ने हमारी ब्रीफिंग की। जनरल रावत ने बहुत अच्छा ब्रीफिंग किया, जो कुछ हमको जानना चाहिए था, जो कुछ हम बता सकते हैं उन्होंने बताया। बहुत अच्छी ब्रीफिंग किया और हम लोग सब संतुष्ट थे।
Panel Chief B.C. Khanduri told the media later that the Vice Chief of Army Staff made a brief statement but took no questions on the issue.
I think there's a lot of misunderstanding and they have said that nothing. There was a briefing given by the government side, by the DGMO, the entire country. Since committee is a defense committee, he also said that committee should also be briefed, everybody may not have. So that's just briefed.
The briefing on the surgical strikes was earlier scheduled to be done by representatives of the Ministry of Defence. The agenda was later changed to a hearing by officials of the Defence Ministry, the Law Ministry and the Election Commission. The Congress protested against the change in agenda, calling it highly unacceptable. With inputs from Vishal Daya and Panchanan Mishra, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi today inaugurated the newly built War Memorial Shaurya Samarak at the Lal Parade Ground in Bhopal. Addressing ex-servicemen, the Prime Minister paid rich tributes to the brave soldiers of the nation. Giving credit to the armed forces and the Defence Minister, Prime Minister Modi said that they don't speak but act. The Prime Minister also recalled the help extended by the Indian Army during the Kashmir floods while highlighting their role in rescue and relief operations. He also praised them for their efforts in rescuing a few Pakistanis in Yemen.
हो सकता है कि दुनिया के कई देशों के पास सैन्य शक्ति हमसे सैकड़ों गुना ज्यादा होगी, लेकिन विश्व जब हमारे सुरक्षा बलों के भिन्न भिन्न पैरामीटर से मूल्यांकन करते हैं तो डिसिप्लिन, आचार, सामान्य नागरिकों के प्रति व्यवहार, इन सारे मानकों में भारत की सेना प्रथम पंक्ति में नजर आती है, पूरे विश्व में नजर आती है।
In other news, the wholesale price index-based inflation plunged to a 3-month low of 3.57% in September from 3.74% in August. Food inflation basket showed moderation with inflation at 5.75% in September as against 8.23% in August. Pulse's inflation continued to rule high at 23.99% in September. The wholesale inflation that remained in the negative zone from November 2014 to March 2016 had been rising for 6 months till August. L. Ganesan and Rupa Ganguly were today administered the oath of office in the upper house by Rajya Sabha Chairman Mohammad Hamid Ansari at a ceremony in Parliament House. Film actor turned politician Rupa Ganguly was nominated to the seat vacated by the resignation of Navjot Singh Sidhu, while BJP leader L. Ganesan was elected to the House unopposed from Madhya Pradesh. Rajya Sabha Secretary General Shamsher Sharif, Union Minister Venkaiah Naidu, Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi and S.S. Ahluwalia were also present on the occasion.
लगातार माठ में मैदान में चिल्लाते फिरते आए, तो आज ये मौका हमको दिया गया कि ये माठ में मैदान में जो चिल्ला रहे थे वो तो लोगों तक पहुँचे, लेकिन अब ये नथिभुक्त होंगे। अब इसको अस्वीकार नहीं कर पाएंगे। जिनके लिए हम चिल्ला रहे हैं उनको सुनना पड़ेगा।
अलग भाषा, अलग वेश, लेकिन अपना भारत एक देश वैसा। ये तो हम अनुभवपूर्व, मैं तमिलनाडु से पैदा हुआ हूँ, लेकिन मध्य प्रदेश के द्वारा मैं जीतकर राज्यसभा को सदस्य नाते में आया हूँ.
Meanwhile, after holding protracted negotiations with the Aam Aadmi Party, former BJP leader Navjot Singh Sidhu is now holding parleys with the Congress for a pre-poll alliance. Sources say that an announcement from both sides is being held up over the issue of the merger of Sidhu's outfit with the Congress, something being pushed for by the Congress state leadership.
With just a few months to go for assembly elections in Punjab, cricketer turned politician Navjot Singh Sidhu is now trying to forge an alliance with the main opposition party in the state, the Congress. Sidhu has already met Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi, but the party is shying away from commenting on the negotiations.
हमने बार-बार इस बात को दोहराया है कि कांग्रेस में स्वागत है तमाम उन लोगों का जो कांग्रेस को की विचारधारा में विश्वास रखते हैं और कांग्रेस को मजबूत करने के लिए काम करना चाहते हैं.
In a bid to prevent a situation where the new ally could walk out if election results are close, the state unit of the party is pushing for a merger of Sidhu's new outfit, Awaz-e-Punjab, with the Congress. Party's chief ministerial candidate, Captain Amrinder Singh, has clearly pointed out that no one is welcome to the Congress with preconditions.
Today the newspapers had a report that Sidhu is demanding between 31 अब 7 से लेकर 13 सीटें. If that is a condition, we do not accept him. If he comes unconditionally to us, yes.
Sidhu, however, is said to be reluctant about the merger of his recently floated outfit with the Congress. Sources say Congress has assured the former BJP leader of his return to Amritsar Lok Sabha seat if Captain Amrinder moves on as Chief Minister after the assembly elections. With Panchanan Mishra, Vishal Dahiya, Rajya Sabha TV.
And here are some more international news updates in Nationwide. The anti-corruption branch today questioned Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, Manish Sisodia, in connection with its probe into an alleged recruitment scam in the Delhi Commission for Women. Sisodia was summoned by the ACB on the 7th of October, informing him about the questioning. According to a senior ACB officer, the questioning continued for over 2 hours. Meanwhile, DCW Chief Swati Maliwal termed ACB's summoning of Sisodia as political vendetta and claimed that he had no role in the appointments made to the women's panel. Kerala's Industries Minister E.P. Jayarajan today resigned following controversy over the appointment of his relatives as head of key public sector units. The move came a day after the state cabinet decided to bring a legislation to check nepotism in appointments to key positions in public sector units. Earlier, the state government asked Chief Secretary S.M. Vijayanand to look into the controversial appointments to key PSUs made recently, including those of Jayarajan's relatives, P.K. Sudhir and Deepti Nishad. At least 13 people were killed and many others injured when a private bus fell into a large water pit near Namli town today. Police said that 3 persons were rescued safely. The bus was on its way to Jaora from Ratlam when the mishap took place. Unconfirmed reports say that there were 40 to 45 passengers in the bus. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed distress of the loss of lives in the accident. HRD Minister Prakash Javadekar today rejected the National Conference leader Omar Abdullah's charge of partisan politics over the move to set up an IIM in Jammu. After the unit cabinet announced the decision on Thursday, Abdullah accused the PDP-BJP government of pursuing blatant partisan politics and ignoring the balanced regional development in Jammu and Kashmir. With that, a quick break here. Up next, international news.
Nanotechnology, I think, is something that is going to affect all of us for a simple reason that it's getting into all other technologies. So we started nanotoxicology, looking at the adverse effects of nanomaterials way back in 2005. We're the first to do that in this country. And since then, we've been looking at various commercially important materials. We also came out with a policy document on the safe handling of these nanomaterials in the laboratory.
Watch Eureka with Professor Alok Dhawan only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Let's get to international news now, starting with the developments over Syria. And world powers have decided to give peace another chance in Syria. The US and Russia will hold 2 meetings this weekend to try and broker a lasting ceasefire in the war-torn nation. The talks come days after Russia-backed Syrian forces launched a brutal assault in Aleppo. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad said that Aleppo is key to his plans of pushing out the rebels.
Undeterred by repeated failures on the path towards peace in Syria, the US and Russia are set to give diplomacy another chance this weekend. Washington has convened international talks in Europe to try and secure a ceasefire that sticks. Talks will be held in Lausanne on Saturday and in London on Sunday. The sentiment for peace has also been expressed by the newly appointed United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres.
Is that I'll do my best to serve the cause of peace for the Syrian people. But now there is a Secretary General in the United Nations working for it. And I also witness the fact that the countries that are key stakeholders in this process will be meeting again to try to move ahead with the peace process. I can only wish that they will be successful, because it is a moral obligation of us all to stop the suffering of the Syrian people.
The proposed meetings come after Syria was plunged last week into some of the worst violence it has seen, as government forces backed by Russian air power pushed a brutal assault on rebel-held eastern Aleppo. Russia backs Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria, and Aleppo seems to be key in their scheme of things. In an interview released on Friday, the Syrian president said taking Aleppo from rebel forces would be the springboard for Syria's army to push the terrorists back to Turkey.
You have to clean, you have to keep cleaning this area and to push the terrorists to Turkey, to go back to where they come from, or to kill them. There's no other options. So, but Aleppo is going to be a very important springboard to do this move.
Rising civilian casualties in Aleppo, where many buildings have been reduced to rubble or are lacking roofs and walls, have prompted an international outcry. Syria's 5-year-old civil war has killed at least 3 lakh people and left millions homeless. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now to the US, where Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump has rejected accusations of sexual misconduct, calling them false and fabricated. Terming the allegations horrible lies, Trump even accused the media of colluding with his rival Hillary Clinton. Meanwhile, US President Barack Obama reiterated that Trump was unfit to be president.
A day after being accused of sexual misconduct by several women, Donald Trump angrily denied the allegations, saying they were totally and absolutely false. Addressing a rally in Florida, the Republican presidential nominee hit back hard, saying the women making the allegations were horrible liars and that the media was colluding with his rival Hillary Clinton.
But it's the failing New York Times, and they're inventing false claims without any evidence, no witnesses, no nothing. An act that supposedly years and years ago. I never met these people. I don't even know who they are. They're made-up stories, filed right before the election. Right before the election. I wonder if that had anything to do with this, right? It's a disgrace.
Trump's denial, however, did not help him much, as he remained under attack. US President Barack Obama said he was unfit for the White House. Obama said that every time Trump spoke, he showed how unqualified he was to be president, and that even many Republicans had begun to doubt him.
We don't even think that most Republican politicians actually really believe that Donald Trump's qualified to be president. You know, I know because I talked to them. They're all like, man, this is really bad. We're just trying to get through this.
First Lady Michelle Obama, too, delivered a scathing attack on Trump, saying his boasts about groping women were shocking and demeaning.
This was a powerful individual speaking freely and openly about sexually predatory behavior, and actually bragging about kissing and groping women, using language so obscene that many of us were worried about our children hearing it when we turn on the TV. And to make matters worse, it now seems very clear that this isn't an isolated incident.
The recent uproar over the video have left Trump's presidential campaign in disarray, with latest opinion polls showing him lagging 8 points behind Democratic candidate Hillary Clinton among the likely voters. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, 21 Nigerian schoolgirls released by the Boko Haram kidnappers met with the country's vice president on Friday. The girls' release came after the International Red Cross and the Swiss government brokered a deal with the group. Negotiations will continue to bring home the rest of the girls. The Nigerian government also denied reports that it had swapped Boko Haram fighters for the girls' release. The girls looked thin and drawn as they listened to the vice president, with one cradling a baby. Around 270 girls were kidnapped 2 years ago from their school in Chibok in the country's remote northeast. Boko Haram has waged a 7-year insurgency to set up an Islamic State in Borno State, killing thousands and displacing more than 2 million people in the process.
Certainly, there was no swap of any kind. And I think that the truth of the matter, of course, as you know, even when we started negotiations, we had said that we were ready to consider whatever options there were. But I believe that very fortunately, God truly helped us in the negotiations.
I am so happy, and I appreciate BBOG and all with the government. Also, I appreciate all with the soldiers of this country, because of my friends that are released from Boko Haram hand. I was very, very happy today. Today is the day for joy for me.
We are so happy for this 21 that we have now. We'll continue to make our demands and ensure that each and every one of the remaining 197 are accounted for.
And finally, let's get you all the updates from the world of sports in SportsBeat. Liane Pace and his German partner Andy Bregemann reached the final of the Tashkent Challenger. The third-seeded Indo-German duo defeated Uzbek pair of Sanjar Faziev and Jurabek Karmov 6-2, 6-love in the semi-finals of the hard-court event. Pace is yet to win an ATP title this season, having finished as runners-up in the Winston-Salem and St. Petersburg. South African spinner Imran Tahir was fined 30% of his match fees following a verbal spat with David Warner during the 5th ODI in Cape Town. ICC said that Tahir showed a lack of respect towards the on-field umpires by ignoring their request to stop verbally engaging with the Australian batsman. He was also handed 2 demerit points. World number 1 Novak Djokovic survived a major scare against world number 110 Misha Zverev to reach the semi-finals of the Shanghai Masters. The Serbian top seed came back from a set and a breakdown to win 3-6, 7-6, 6-3. Djokovic will play Spain's Roberto Bautista Agut in the next match. F1 driver Nico Hülkenberg will join Renault next season after agreeing to release from his contract with Force India. The 29-year-old German has been chosen to lead Renault's team after driving for Force India for 5 years across 2 spells. Force India said that they respect his desire to explore fresh opportunities. And that's all we have for you in the news tonight from the entire team here. Good night.